Welcome to another Based Boomer Short on Eschatology Matters, part of the Fight, Laugh, Feast network. Become a member of Eschatology Matters to get more great content from our incredible team. The Christian obligation to vote. You knew I'd go there, didn't you? I recently heard Charlie Kirk interview Christian pollster George Barna about a poll where they found a massive number of Christians, in the tens of millions, who will not vote this year. This is tragic on so many levels, not least of which is if the Democrats win, it's very likely America will be buried and gone forever. We'll link to that discussion below. I'm going to write a small part of a sermon I would give now if I were a pastor and led a congregation. I'm not, and I don't. But prior to writing this, I came across part of a sermon by a pastor, Jarny Ardavanus, on Twitter that really couldn't say it any better. You'll notice, I'll play a small part, and we'll link to that as well. And you'll notice what he says about Democrats.
People have asked me this week if I have opinions politically. I have opinions, a lot of them, and I can share those in the weeks to come. But I'm not a prophetic or a political commentator. I'm a preacher of the Bible, but certain things politically are more theological than they used to be. So let me just give you some things about where I stand, because people have texted me a few things, and I'll just, this stuff is not hard for me to say. Number one, the Democratic Party is a demonic death cult under the power and influence of Satan. Hold on. I'll explain why I say hold on. To vote for the Democrats is to vote for a platform that is building their platform upon everything God hates. The mutilation of bodies, the annihilation of babies in the womb, and the sexualization of your children. That is their calling card. That is what they want to do. They don't hide that. They have abortion facilities outside of the Democratic Convention. This is who they are. It's the most radical party in our country's history. So I don't see how you could be a Christian and vote for a party who promotes everything that God hates.
That is accurate. I'll say it again. The Democratic Party is a demonic death cult under the power and influence of Satan. What this means is that if a Christian doesn't vote for whatever well-intentioned reasons they think they have, this, quote, demonic death cult under the power and influence of Satan could very well maintain power to continue the death and destruction we've been experiencing the last 4 years, only more and more widespread. I'll only mention a brief few things about why pastors are under the impression they can't discuss politics from the pulpit. It's primarily because of pietism, an overly spiritualized and dualistic perspective of the faith, and the other side of the coin, secularism. This impression is wrong. Before I get to my very brief sermon, thank God America's founding generation didn't have this erroneous understanding of church and state. In fact, I have this book of political sermons. That would be sermons from a pulpit, and it clocks in, this is a big book, at 1,596 pages. That's a lot of pages and a lot of sermons. If we had such a book today, it might be 12 pages of really big type. But I trust that is slowly changing, and good Pastor Ardavanus is a great example of that. Now, on to my very short sermon. As we all know, an election is coming up in a couple weeks, and some of you sitting in this room have yet to decide if you are going to vote, or for various reasons have decided you will not vote. A kind of pox on both your houses protest. I'm hesitant to attribute the word sin to something like voting, which is clearly not directly addressed in the Bible, but I can call it a dereliction of duty, a shirking of responsibility to serve your fellow neighbor. If it is a sin, it is a sin of omission. What is our duty and responsibility to vote? We live in a representative republic, which means we vote for people to hopefully get the government we want. They will in turn vote for policies to attempt to achieve these things, and it is our job to hold them accountable. What are the very first words of our Constitution? Any guesses? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Not, mind you, a perfect union. There were no utopian idealists among the founders. We, you and me, are responsible for the government we have, period. Unfortunately, most people, Christians included, would much rather complain because it's just easier. Since we cannot, must not, will not vote for the death cult, that means we only have one choice: Donald Trump, regardless of what you think of him, and the Republican Party, regardless of what you think of them. They are the only other option. And it is my job as your pastor and leader to tell you who I'm voting for, Trump and the Republicans, why, and it is my job to further persuade you to do so as well. If I didn't think it was right, I wouldn't do it. Of course, the final decision is yours. We don't do tyranny and coercion in the church, in the Christian church. But the consequences of your decision will be felt not only by your fellow Americans, but by the entire world. And not just for this generation, but for generations to come. Choose wisely.
Seated here at my right